I'm Bob. That's Ryan. Ryan, tell us about the show.
So the concept is the same as it always has been, except one minor change this week.
Ooh.
The last couple of weeks we've said 3 to 5 games for our covered games. We've decided finally we're just going to cover 4 a week, which is what we've been doing the last couple of weeks anyway. But this time we've just set a distinct number there. But other than that, 5th game remains the same. We're going to take noteworthy moments from other games that we didn't decide to individually cover and cover those. News, again, keyword noteworthy, news that we want to talk about. And then lastly, our predictions for next week's 4 games.
Fantastic.
So again, there's 2 of us always. I'm Ryan, that's Bob. He is the casual fan. He supports Atletico Madrid, who's he's wearing right now. Leeds United and Phoenix Rising, our local team. I'm the real fan. I support Sheffield United, which is what I'm wearing right now. Atlanta United, which is this scarf right there. And Athletic Bilbao.
Our show is sponsored by Gigi's Bread. Remember that we have monthly memberships available. And this week's bread of the month, the bread of the month is the jalapeno cheddar, and it's fantastic.
Okay, and this week we're going to be reviewing the previous weekend or week of Premier League and La Liga football. Usually it's weekend, but now with the way the schedule is working,
And they're playing like 3 times a week, aren't they?
not even 3 times a week. There's games every day almost. So a week of Premier League and La Liga football. Those games are going to include Tottenham Man United, Barcelona Sevilla, Real Madrid Real Sociedad, and Everton Liverpool.
Fantastic. So last week I took Tottenham to win 1-0, and you took Manchester United 2-1. What happened in this game?
Ended 1-1, so kind of close, kind of not. We were almost right. But Man United deserved all 3 points. Tottenham really weren't in the game that much. They scored first, though, Tottenham, through a counterattack, so to speak, I guess.
First half or second half?
First half. Manchester United played a long ball that was won in the air by Tottenham, and then it fell to Steven Bergwijn, the young Dutch winger for Tottenham. He took, essentially, it was a 1-on-4, went a solo run, and scored. David De Gea, the Manchester United Spanish goalkeeper, should have saved it. And he's been in real poor form recently. There's been talks about him being replaced, which would suck considering they just gave him a massive super mega contract a couple months ago.
He better get his act together.
He needs to. He's one of the best goalkeepers in the world when he is. But for Man United, even on that goal, you can't fully blame De Gea. Harry Maguire, the $80 million signing, should have done much, much better defensively. And I would look next week for United, or even Wednesday against Sheffield United, to see Maguire paired with Eric Bailly, who's much quicker than his current partner, Victor Lindelof, and allows Maguire to be a little bit more calm and attack more aggressive defensively.
I'll be looking forward to seeing
Bailly
it.
can give him the pace and the cover. But Tottenham, again, other than a 5-10 minute period, Man United really dominated them. Jose Mourinho, the Tottenham coach, likes to set his teams up defensively to absorb some pressure and then eventually go on the counter. United looked at their best in the last 35 minutes of the game when they brought Paul Pogba on, who was my man of the match. And he was paired with Bruno Fernandes. And this is the first time those two have been on the field at the same exact time. They're 2 most creative players, I guess you could say. And for those 35 minutes, they probably could have scored 2 or 3 or potentially even 4 goals.
Then how come they didn't?
They just can't. Sometimes you can't find the back of the net. Sometimes Hugo Lloris was Tottenham's goalkeeper, the Frenchman, World Cup winner. He was fantastic for Tottenham today, or the other day, and kept them really in the game. And Hugo Lloris' performance on his own allowed Tottenham to really take a point from this one. And really, that's that for that game. For the remainder of the season, though, United currently you see sitting in 5th. That's a Europa League spot, 5th. Could be a Champions League spot, depending on how Man City's appeal against the UEFA goes. Manchester City banned from the Champions League for 2 years by the European soccer governing body. They're currently in 2nd, which is a Champions League place. If their appeal goes through after they were obviously banned for financial fair play, they spent too much money.
Yep.
They can still play Champions League soccer next year. If not, Manchester United in 5th will be that 4th team. For Tottenham, only 3 or 4 points off of 5th, so they're still very much in the Champions League hunt. For United, though, right now, 5th is probably the spot for them. They're going to hope that Manchester City gets banned and they can take that 4th spot, that de facto 4th spot. For the rest of the season, look at Bruno Fernandes and Paul Pogba to be on the field at the exact same time and see how good United is. I think they're going to be great with those 2 on the field. it might have just been a short, brief 35-minute moment for them, and they could struggle. You never know. For Tottenham, they have to improve their depth. They've got 4 or 5 key starters right now, and then beyond that, it's really kind of a drop in talent. They've had a lot of youngsters that need to play minutes that shouldn't be playing minutes. So for them, depth is the key for the rest of their season. 8 games to go for both teams. And then other than that, in my opinion, United will take that 5th spot. And I think City deserve their ban. I don't know if they actually get it, but they deserve the ban. So I will, for now, my prediction is United get into the Champions League through the 5th place spot. That's my prediction.
All right.
For Tottenham, 8th is probably not where they'll finish. They'll probably finish 7th. I can easily see Sheffield United continuing their slide into 9th or 10th, which means Tottenham finish 7th, which is Europa League spot. So that's where you'd probably see them finishing.
Anything else on this match we need to talk about?
No. We'll go to the next one.
Next one. So, Barcelona and Sevilla. I took Sevilla in a 1-0 win. You took Barcelona in a 3-1 win. What happened in the match?
This one ended 0-0, 0-0.
Another push.
Sort of a boring game, kind of like the Tottenham Man United game. Man United game was a little more exciting. And I went 3-1 solely because I thought Barcelona's talent and the way they've played under Quique Setien, a really exciting possession-based brand of soccer, it didn't really come out against Sevilla. The team coached by Julian Lopetegui, the former Spain manager, who coaches a lot like Mourinho does, where he sets his teams up to nullify or neutralize the opposition. And they did that really well yesterday. My man of the match, so much so, was Julian Lopetegui, who's the coach. So I don't know if you can really count that.
Works for me.
He did very well in setting up the team to stop Barcelona, especially Lionel Messi, who is obviously the chief playmaker for Barcelona. Arguably the chief playmaker of anyone in the world. If you can take Messi out of Barcelona, you can pretty much take the Barcelona out of Barcelona. They become a completely different team. And Sevilla really decided that's what they were going to do, and they couldn't get much else elsewhere. And the result ended 0-0. No real chances. Either team probably should have ended 0-0, as the score did. For Sevilla, no real attacking threat this whole game. Usually you'll see Lucas Ocampos or Munir have really good games for Sevilla up in the attacking third. They didn't have a lot of the ball today, so they couldn't really do much of that. For Barcelona, a lot of the ball, not a lot of chances, no good chances. Messi had a chance to score his 700th career goal, which is
a lot.
It is a lot. It's like, as you said a couple days ago when we were watching the game, is that like 3,000 hits? It's kind of like 3,000 hits.
That's big.
So no real stuff from Messi today. They did a really good job of neutralizing him. And the other thing was Ansu Fati, 16 years old. Messi kind of the heir to Messi, supposedly, for Barcelona. He didn't play a lot when he got on the field. It was probably a little too late for him to really affect the game with his pace and his
16 years old.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
He was a little lost for the 20 minutes he was on the field, but that's to be expected considering he was only on the field for 20 minutes. A player like Ansu needs 25, 30 minutes to figure the game out, especially at such a young age, and he didn't get that. And that's where I think you could really blame Setien for the draw, because I think if Ansu started, if you gave Ansu Fati 45 plus minutes, I think you're going to see him create at least one solid good chance, and this game could change easily from a 0-0 to a 1-0 or 2-0.
Fantastic. Anything else in this game we need to touch on?
No, again, for Barcelona, first place at the time, second place now. Following your next result, they were going to see Real Madrid picking up a big result this week. Sevilla dropped to 4th at the weekend after Atletico Madrid won, but they're really sitting pretty in that 4th spot, I would say. They need to start to pick up their form, though, or they could risk falling out of the Champions League place after being so good for so long.
And they still have 8 to 10 games to play as well?
8. And for Barcelona, same thing. They're in a title race. They were the team that blinked first between them and Real Madrid with this tie. They need to hope that Real Madrid blink again, or blink next, and they don't blink again, and then they can push on and win the title, which would be very important for Setien, who's a coach that's only been there for a little while and is trying to keep his job, because he's only there technically as the interim coach, so to speak.
All right, show me the next match.
Now we've got Real Madrid and Real Sociedad.
So I took Real Madrid to win 2-0, and you predicted a draw. What did we end up getting?
And so before we go to the next slide, I just want to touch on it real quick. Last week, there was a slight typo in it. I mixed up the results and gave myself picking Real Madrid 2-0 and him and Dad taking a draw. We mixed that up, so we changed it this week. We got the proper result. And you got a Real Madrid 2-1 win. So you picked up the first point of the weekend, and I think it's the only point of the weekend. So
fantastic.
Pretty poor week from us there.
I like Sociedad's logo. It's like a
Flag.
little flag hugging a little soccer ball.
That's exactly what it is.
Fantastic. All right, well, tell me about this game.
So, as you can see, 2nd and 6th were their positions listed at the time. Sociedad stayed in 6th with the loss. They played really well, actually. Madrid jumped from 2nd to 1st, as we talked about in the Barcelona game. They didn't blink. Barcelona blinked. They're now in 1st. And I do think, for the remaining 8 games, I think you're going to see them slip up once. But I also think you'll see Barcelona slip up once or twice. I think Real Madrid's going to end up being your La Liga winners. There's too much talent in that side. There's too much coaching ability in that side. And not a lot of people are giving them enough credit for how, not enough people are giving them enough credit in the European stage. I think that's going to be the Champions League winner. A lot of people are saying Bayern Munich, because I think Bayern Munich are the best team. I think Bayern Munich are the best team in Europe, but sometimes the best team doesn't always win. And Zinedine Zidane has been their coach for 3 years. He left last year. They didn't win the Champions League last year. But those previous 3 years, they won the Champions League 1, 2, 3 times in 3 years. Zidane knows how to win in knockout competitions. And I think you're going to see Real Madrid win the Champions League. And now with the race so tight in La Liga, it essentially becomes like a knockout competition where you've got to outplay and out-survive Barcelona. And that favors Real Madrid, I think, heavily. And I think you're going to see them become the champions. And in this game, it was more the same. They had to survive. They scored first through a... I forget who scored, but they did score first. They
First half?
Second half.
Second half?
All the extras.
0-0 at halftime?
Yes. They scored first, and then Sociedad scored, but again, that survival mentality got called off.
Ooh.
Offside. Pretty rough call. Oh, that's right. It was a penalty in the second half. Vinicius Jr., who was my man of the match for Real Madrid, very effective on the left wing, won a penalty that was scored by Sergio Ramos, who went off with an injury later. But Sociedad did score. It was overturned by VAR for offside. It was an iffy call, but probably the right call in the end. It was close, but again, probably the right call. Real Madrid went the other way. Karim Benzema scoring a goal, touched his shoulder, so that, again, could have been a handball. So Real Madrid getting a little bit of help from technology this week. And then Sociedad scoring sort of late on, and really the last 5 minutes, they had a chance to equalize once or twice. But Real Madrid deserved 3 points here, deserved to be the league leaders in La Liga. For Sociedad, they're still in the Champions League hunt. They're in 6th, top 4th place makes it.
Fantastic.
I don't think they're going to do it. Atletico Madrid and Sevilla seem pretty locked into those spots. And if any one of those 5, 6, 7 teams, so Getafe in 5th, Sociedad in 6th, Villarreal in 7th, is going to sneak into the top 4, it's going to be Villarreal, who, at the time of recording, have won all 3 games at the restart, 1-0, 1-0, and 1-0. So they're a tough team, have sort of started well.
Okay.
They're hot. And if any team can sneak in, it'll be them. But I don't think any team will really sneak in. I think you're looking at the top 4 in La Liga, and really the only thing that's going to change is Real Madrid probably going to win the league, in my opinion.
Anything else on this game you need to touch on?
Yeah, one last thing, I guess, for Sociedad. Martin Odegaard, who's on loan from Real Madrid last week. We touched on him a little bit. I think he's spectacular, one of the best unknown players in the world, so to speak.
How old is he?
21, so he's still young, but he's been around for forever. When he was 15, he signed for Real Madrid.
What league did he come out of, or which
Norway.
program?
He's from Norway.
Norway.
He's starting to produce a lot more talent recently. But he was silent a lot of this game until around the last 10 minutes when you saw Sociedad play a lot better. So he's the key for them. If he starts to play well again, they've got a chance at Champions League football. But his poor performance really dictated the result today, or the other day.
All right. Show me the next game. So, Everton versus Liverpool. I took Liverpool with a win, 2-0, and you took Liverpool with a win, 3-1. What happened in this game?
We got a 0-0.
Not a lot of points scored this week, I don't think.
Nope, I think you got the only one again. And 0-0, the theme of the week will continue with that. We saw that in the Tottenham Man United game, 0-0, or 1-1, but Jose Mourinho really deciding to sit back and absorb some pressure and not let Manchester United do anything. We saw that with Julian Lopetegui in the 0-0 draw between Sevilla and Barcelona. Lopetegui setting his team up to neutralize Barcelona. Everton and Liverpool. Carlo Ancelotti neutralizing Liverpool's attack this week by sitting back. A lot of teams sitting there this week and saying, we'll take the draw against a much better team than us, especially in the case of Everton. A team in 12th, probably that's where they should be.
It's a win. I don't know if I like that strategy of taking the draw. I
It
get
depends. It's a draw. You have to look at it from Everton's
I want
opinion.
to win.
You have to Liverpool, this result doesn't really matter in the long term. They only need 5 more points in 9 games to win the league.
Did they save some players then?
They played their full lineup. It's a rivalry game. You want to try and, for lack of a better word, humiliate Everton, and they didn't. Everton set up really well defensively, and it almost paid off for them. The last 10 minutes, Everton really, really good. Should have probably won the game. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was my man of the match for Everton. Should have scored a goal in the 79th minute, and then probably could have had another one in the 85th minute, probably could have had an assist in the 83rd minute. So that 5-minute period from 80 to 85, Everton could have had 3 goals, all from Dominic Calvert-Lewin. They did hit the post from Tom Davies in the 86th minute. An exciting game, a lot of chances for a 0-0 game. Probably should have ended 0-0. I would have told you 2-1 Everton probably should have been the score based on clear cuts, should have scored chances. But again, really a boring game for the first half, and then the second half late on it picked up. Liverpool, like we said earlier, only 5 points away from winning the league. They can fall asleep the rest of the year and still win the league.
Who was your man of the match again?
Dominic Calvert-Lewin, the Everton striker, the Englishman. For Everton, it's all about finishing the season strong and trying to set themselves up for next campaign. Calvert-Lewin, if he can finish the last 8 games with a couple goals in there, that'll be a big confidence booster for him. A team that haven't scored a lot of goals, Everton, this year, need to find that key goal scorer, and Calvert-Lewin has a lot of the potential to be that key goal scorer for them next year. But for Everton, again, need to finish the season strong. For Liverpool, they're out of the Champions League. They're out of the FA Cup. There's no more other League Cup. Premier League's all they have for the remaining 8 games, and they're going to win that anyway. The rest of the season is essentially a wash for them. They don't have to do much to win the league. The only thing for them is the motivation of potentially being the greatest Premier League team of all time. If they win every game, they can finish with 100 points. They can break every single record. I don't think they're going to do any of that. I think they've been too poor recently, and they're a little too sluggish for that. But that's your champion.
We'll just have. All right, so sum up our standings through the weeks and tally it all up for us.
So obviously, week 1 you had the lead 2-1. Last week I had a big week with 5 points. You only had 2, so I took the lead 6-4. And this week you took the win for the week, 1-0. But again, a low week means low scores added. So I still have a 6-5 lead in total. Close match, actually.
Close enough.
Yeah.
All right. Tell us about the 5th game this week, Ryan.
The 5th game, as we talked about in our opener, is just key points from around the globe. We'll start with Bayern locking up the Bundesliga title with a very impressive 52 possible points out of 54, which is 18 games. They won 17 and tied 1 in the last half of the season. Bayern are the best team in Europe. They're going to be, when Vegas opens their odds again for the Champions League, which is restarting now, they're going to be the heavy favorite. I don't think they're going to win it.
But you're not betting them.
I would not. Like I said, I would bet on Zinedine Zidane and Real Madrid. But Bayern, de facto, normally 8th straight Bundesliga title, which is sort of a problem and a great thing at the same time. Not enough competition there. But it's a testament to how good and consistent they are. Because this was arguably their worst season in a while, but they've picked it up towards the end. And then Napoli beating Juve in the Coppa Italia. Again, we'll go back to the
PKs to win, huh?
We'll go back to the underlying theme of the week. A coach setting up his team to force another team to beat them. And Juve could not do that. Gennaro Gattuso, the Napoli head coach, AC Milan great holding midfielder once upon a time, set up Napoli to defend for 90 minutes and play for the PK shootout. They got there, and they won in PKs. For Juve, the key thing here is Maurizio Sarri, another Italian coach for Juve, cannot win the big game. He's always struggled in his career to win the big game. He's really only got one big game win in his entire career. That was the Europa League final last year for Chelsea. He left Chelsea He left Chelsea to go to Juve. They're going to win the league this year probably, which will be his first major, huge super trophy. But Napoli got the better of him in the day. Their tactics got won out, and they followed the theme of the week: defend first, win second, which should never be the real thing, but it was. And they won the Coppa Italia. They won a trophy for Gattuso, who's never won a trophy before. And then we'll go to our lesser points of the week. Atalanta dominates Sassuolo. They're now 5 points clear of Roma in fourth. That's the final Champions League spot. Atalanta, a really small club. They're in the last 8 of the Champions League, which is unbelievably impressive for them. A team who shouldn't even be in the Europa League. To be one of the 8 best teams in the world this year is unbelievable. And I don't think they're going to do much beyond the last 8 because their team isn't as talented as the others. But if they can keep going, if they can do something, it'd be really impressive. Dusseldorf get 2 results on the week, so you go 2 points ahead of Werder Bremen for the last relegation spot in the Bundesliga with only 1 game to play. So that's a big one for them. Paderborn are officially relegated from the Premier League or from the Bundesliga after they lost to Borussia Mönchengladbach, who are now in fourth place on 62 points. Leipzig in third on 63 points, and after Bayer Leverkusen lost to Hertha Berlin, they're on 60 points with 1 game to play. Leverkusen have to win. Gladbach have to lose for them to make fourth. Gladbach, as long as they get a result, they're going to finish in fourth in the Champions League spots, which is important for them. David Luiz was the man of the match at the weekend for Manchester City. The only problem is David Luiz is an Arsenal player. He was the best player on the field for Man City. He grabbed
How does that work?
He essentially grabbed an assist. He missed a clearance, and it fell right to a Man City player. He tapped it home, and then he conceded a penalty and a red card. He was only on the field for 25 minutes.
Ouch.
And he gave up a goal, and he gave up a penalty, and he got a red card. He's probably played his last game for Arsenal. They want him gone. He wants out. He's done. Wolves were really good at the week. They struggled to break down West Ham, but their quality was enough to beat West Ham. If Manchester United slip up, Wolves could easily be that 5th place team and make the Champions League. And then the second division in England, the EFL Championship, returns to action. The 6th place spot, the last playoff spot there, is really what you want to watch. That's a close battle between 2 or 3 teams.
Okay.
And,
American Idols. Is this something new on our show this
this
week?
is our new segment. We're going to be tracking, as you can see here, tracking the performance of U.S. internationals in Europe. So we'll start
Like
off.
my boy.
We'll start off with Weston McKennie, who's a little bit who's underrated in my opinion.
He's from the United States. What state did he come
He's
from?
Texas,
Texas.
but
Is he
he's
from McKinney, Texas, by chance?
he's not from McKinney, Texas.
Sorry.
It's the second time you've asked me that since we started this. But we'll figure out where he's from, I guess. They score, but they still lose to Frankfurt. Schalke now winless in a club record 14 games. That's pretty poor. Chris Richards scores for promotion hunting Bayern Munich 2. So
Promotion hunting.
Their second team. Bayern Munich has their top team in the Bundesliga and a second team in the 3rd division. They're currently in 1st and 3rd division. They're going to go up to
Can
the
both
second.
teams ever make it?
No.
Oh.
So even if they win the 2nd division next year, they can't go to the Bundesliga.
Wow.
But Chris Richards scores. It was a big week for him. He scores to move them up to 1st in the 3rd division and makes his Bayern Munich 1 debut in the same exact week.
Wow.
Richards is a player who hasn't made his debut for the U.S. national team yet. Probably he's 20, 19, 20. He's a center back. He probably would have made his debut by now if it weren't for the coronavirus. As soon as they get back to international soccer, expect him to be in the U.S. team and never leave again. He's that good of
And he's a center back, you say?
center back.
And my boy Gio Reyna?
Gio Reyna gets his first start and first assist. It was a really good assist. Ball up in the air, came to his foot. He just tapped it to Erling Haaland, another Norwegian, for Borussia Dortmund, as they win against Leipzig to secure 2nd place in the Bundesliga. Status quo for them. Normally his team would finish 2nd. Christian Pulisic started the week on the bench, which is normally where he started for Chelsea, but he comes off the bench to score the opening goal against Aston Villa and helps Chelsea separate themselves from Manchester United in 5th. They're now solidly in 4th. So good for Pulisic there, I guess. Next, we've got our news section. And that's going to be Timo Werner to Chelsea. That's the big news. Confirmed in June. He plays for RB Leipzig, Red Bull, who are in the last 8 of the Champions League. That's set to start up soon. He's going to not play for Leipzig in the Champions League, and he's going to decide he's going to go to Chelsea early and forego Champions League football, which is not really a career decision I would make, but if you're a player who's leaving, you want to try and establish yourself as soon as you can in the team. So I get it.
Well, we wish him the best.
Issues with VAR and goal line technology at the Sheffield United Villa game.
I heard about that.
A ball that clearly passed the line, but was blocked from every single angle for the first time in 9,000 occurrences. It's the first time they could not determine if they could. And if Sheffield United won that game, they'd be in 5th right now and not in 7th. So it could be a key 2 points come the season.
It would have been bad for that other team knowing that they had the VAR called wrong to just let that team go down and score.
But under normal circumstances, maybe. But for Villa, a team who's in a relegation battle, every point matters. I wouldn't have done it if I were Villa.
Yeah,
and then we'll talk about Saeed Benrahma, who plays for Brentford in the 2nd Division Championship. He's been rumored $25 million to Leicester or Chelsea. One of those two teams, probably Leicester. And for Benrahma, I really wanted to talk about him for a second because championship players oftentimes get a bad rap as they come up to the Premier League. People think they aren't the same level. Chelsea's a perfect example of players like Mason Mount, Fikayo Tomori, Reece James, Tammy Abraham, all players that played in the 2nd tier last year and have come right up to Chelsea and helped them finish what's likely going to be a 4th place finish. So championship players can really change the dynamic of a team, and Benrahma can certainly help Leicester even further secure themselves at the top of the English game. Next up, we got Leroy Sané, who's been out the whole year for Man City. When he plays, he's really good. He wants to go to Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich want him. Man City won't sell him. So he said, I won't sign a new contract for Man City. So does Man City finally decide to sell him and at least make $35, $40 million on him? Or do they let him sit for another year and let him walk for free? That'll be an interesting thing.
Well, that's what they can do if they hang out for a year.
If he oversees his contract, he can just leave for free. And then same thing's going to happen. That's what's going to happen with Ryan Fraser, the Scottish international at Bournemouth. He's played his last game for Bournemouth. Where's he going to go next? He's out. He's done on a free transfer. He can leave in June. He won't play. He won't stay at Bournemouth. A lot of mid-table teams are looking at him. Crystal Palace, Tottenham, Leicester are looking at him a little bit. I think he's going to go play for Tottenham or Arsenal, one of those two teams, a team that's in borderline Europa League team, probably. But it'll be interesting to see where he goes on a free transfer. And then last, we've got our big news of the week. The UEFA Champions League returns.
I can't wait.
August 7th, and the Europa League, the secondary competition, returns August 5th. So that's the big news on the Champions League and knockout stage competition front, I guess.
Looking forward to it. What do we got next week?
Our predictions. So if you want to go over this a little bit, you can.
All right, so next week we got Man City versus Chelsea, and
We've got, I've got them winning 3-1. I think City has been really good since the restart, beating Arsenal 3-0 at the midweek, and then they beat Burnley today on Monday, so we're recording it. They beat them 5-0. So that'll be an interesting moment for them. You've got them winning 2-1. Or you've got Chelsea winning 2-1.
I got Chelsea. Yeah, I think they're due. That's all I can say.
For Chelsea, maybe Pulisic starts. Maybe he doesn't. If not, probably Mason Mount to really affect the team. Olivier Giroud, I hope, continues to get a run out up top over Tammy Abraham. He scored at the weekend. Tammy Abraham probably does start this game, though, for Chelsea. And for Man City, you want to see who they play, because Arsenal, they look really good with what could be called a B team almost. And they played Burnley, or I guess you could call it A team. And then Team 1A, and then Team 2A was played against Burnley today. They have a lot of depth. It'll be interesting to see what lineup they play, because they could play two completely different teams and probably maintain the same quality within each team, which is really hard to do.
Fantastic.
So you'll look to see what team they run out with. And Real Betis and Espanyol. Espanyol team in 20th. Betis team in 12th, 13th, 14th. It's only a game of the week, because if Espanyol win, all of a sudden they look like a team that could survive the relegation battle here. I've gone with a draw. I think it's going to be somewhat of a boring game, somewhat not. You've gone Betis 2-0. I guess you think Betis have a little more quality and can really kind of roll out a win here. For Espanyol, you don't really know what to look for. Some weeks they're pretty good, some weeks they're not. You want to see a good performance from Chinese striker Wu Lei.
They're fighting for relegation. They might put it all together. Might have to rethink that bet before we go to next weekend.
Dortmund and Hoffenheim, big game for Hoffenheim. All to play for them. They're in 7th right now. Wolfsburg are in 6th, play Bayern Munich, so that's a likely loss for Wolfsburg. The 6th place spot in Germany is the last Europa League spot. If Hoffenheim win, or even draw, they'll probably jump into that 6th place spot. I've gone Borussia Dortmund with a 3-2 win, because I think Dortmund are really going to struggle this game. I think that's why I've gone with a higher scoring game, but in a close game. I don't think Dortmund are going to be focused enough to really dominate the game like they should. And Hoffenheim will stick around, but Dortmund's quality in the end will probably see itself out in 3 points. And I think you've said that the same thing with Dortmund winning 2-0 here.
Yep.
So I guess we both kind of agree on that one. For Dortmund, Erling Haaland, look for him to score the Norwegian international. He's been on a scoring tear since he joined the Bundesliga. I think he's at 10 goals in 11 games.
Wow.
Which is
strong.
Very, very good. For Hoffenheim, not much to look at. They're a solid team. Maybe they get a result. And then our game of the week. Atalanta, as Mitz calls them, and Lazio. Lazio in 2nd. They're in a title race, which is rare for Lazio, a team that probably haven't been in a title race in 20 years.
Wow.
And no team from southern Italy, which is Rome, Naples, those 2 cities, has won a Serie A title in 20 years, since Lazio did. So it's rare to see them in this situation. Atalanta, we talked about them earlier, a team in 4th right now that should be in around 10th almost. And they're also in the last 8 of the Champions League. They're punching unbelievably above their weight. Probably more so than any team in world soccer right now.
Sounds like some pretty good games.
We've both gone Lazio with a win. I've gone